remember how was Steve Jobs as a person back then?
Well, there was two of them. One of them, the second one, and the Steve Jobs then, and I didn't know him personally then, you could see epitomized in his Stanford University commencement speech. And one of the things he said there that influences a lot of people today is when I wake up in the morning, what am I going to do today? And if this is my last day on earth, is that what I really want to do? So that's sort of like he's saying, I'm going to have fun. But back in the days I was there, he was quite a nasty, surly guy, obstinate. And one story it was that a guy got on the elevator with him in one of the Apple buildings. And Steve asked this guy, what do you do? And the guy told him, and he says, okay, you're fired. And it's about 6 months later, guy gets on the elevator with Steve again. And Steve says, you're still here? So he was
kind of short-tempered.
A short temper and headstrong. Another funny story that happened is after I took over the Apple III product line and had already introduced the Apple III Plus at Comdex in November, a few weeks later, I was traveling with one of our manufacturing reps to visit dealers in Southern California, and I was going to be there all week. So I was there. I got a call from my boss, Ken Zerby, on Tuesday. He says, why can't we cancel the Apple III Plus? And I said, we've already introduced it and told the dealers we're going to come out with it. He says, well, can you come back to Cupertino and explain that to the executive committee? And nothing pisses me off more than when I'm on the front line fighting a battle, which is uphill both ways, and I'm called off the front line with my troops and have to go and fight a rearguard action. So I reluctantly went back to Cupertino from Southern California. And along the way, I got a email through Apple, what do they call it? Apple Link. At the time, Apple and IBM were the only two companies in the world that had internal email services, so we could communicate with us very quickly and with our dealers almost instantaneously. And I got an email from Gene Carter, who was VP of Sales, asking if why can't I cancel the Apple III introduction? So I wrote back to Steve, and I knew that he didn't type. And he didn't use Apple. He would ask his secretary to print things off so he could read his messages, and he would dictate or handwrite out his stuff, and she would type it up and send it out. So I knew he didn't know the capabilities of Apple Link, and he said, why can't you cancel the product line? And I wrote back and said, I'm sorry, Gene. I put the announcement in an email this past Monday, and it's scheduled to go out at 10 a.m. Friday, and there's no mechanism in Apple Link where I could cancel an email that I've previously scheduled. So this thing's going to get introduced whether you like it or not. I got back to Cupertino, walked into the conference room. Steve had his smelly bare feet up on the conference table with the executive committee sitting around the table. And they asked me why I can't cancel the product line. I said, look, we rely upon the loyalty of 1,800 dealers worldwide, and we told them that we're going to be committed to the Apple III until the market decides it no longer wanted to buy the product, and it would be disloyal to our dealers and probably just drive them right into IBM's hands, which had a competing product on the market as many of those dealers. And I said, I don't think we want to lose the goodwill of our 1,800 dealers, which also were the same dealers for the Macintosh, for the Lisa, and for the Apple II. So they said, okay, go ahead with the announcement, the release, and the shipping of the Apple III Plus. Then about 10 years ago, I went to a Apple reunion of the first 10 years, and Gene Carter was there. And I went up to Gene and I said, I have to apologize and ask for your forgiveness, my father. And he says, what for, my son? I said, well, I told him the story of the email that could not be recalled. And I said, that's not true. There was no such capability one way or the other. I made that up in order to save the product line and to save the loyalty of the dealers. So may I have your forgiveness, my father? And he put his hand on my shoulder, says, I forgive you, my son. So that's something that sometimes product managers have to do in order to protect the company, the shareholders, the distribution system, and the loyalty of their customers. And later in April of 1985, when I shut down the product line on the same day that the Apple IIc was introduced, it did not affect the stock price in any way, shape, or form. And we kept those 75,000 Apple III owners out there as loyal Apple customers for many years to come.
That's a very interesting story, sir. Thanks for watching. To see the full episode, check out the link in the description.